NASCAR returns to Atlanta, and we have some absolute gainer bets to get on down for the Cup, Xfinity, and Truck Series. We'll give you those, plus preview the weekend on this episode of The Backroad.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checkered flag. That's all this race is.
Two from the stage.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome into the Backroad. It's In Between Media's NASCAR betting show. My name's Elliot Hicks. I got Seth Woolcock with me, and hopefully the Wi-Fi monster that knocked us a couple of minutes late is no longer with the program.
Hey, Elliot, great to be back with you, ripping down the back road regardless this week. Excited to handicap yet another super speedway to begin the season. And people are already acting like the sky is falling on NASCAR social media, so you know we're back, baby. Appreciate you being here, Elliot, as well as everyone in the live chat. Please, if you are hanging with us live, do us a quick favor. Like this video if you enjoy this type of content. Also, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy sports betting or fantasy sports. But yeah, man, pumped for another track to break down here in Atlanta and fire away some more best bets.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And IBT's got a little bit of everything, not just the racing. We got some football, we got some golf, we got some entertainment betting. Popcorn and root beer just wrapped up a little bit ago, I believe, too. But really, the best place to be if you're interested in the in-between content is to join the IBT Racing Family Discord chat. It gives you our access to the exclusive weekly betting model that we put together in collaboration with iFantasy Race. You can chat with all of us, myself, Seth, Rod, Ryan, from My Fantasy Race and the rest of the fam over there. And it gives you entry into our memorabilia giveaways. Our first one, post-Daytona, the Ross Chastain autograph mini helmet. Congratulations to Travis. You are the winner of that piece. Just send one of us a DM on Discord. Seth has it right there. So probably he's your best guy to reach out to. We'll get that shipped out to you. Thanks so much for being a member of the Discord. And it's our first one in there, but it will not be our last giveaway this season.
Yeah, shout out Trav, man. Appreciate he's been hitting some big winners at Daytona, I think, using the model as well. He was big on Bubba in that first dual race. So not only did Trav have a successful opening weekend of betting, hopefully because of somewhat of what we're doing over here at IBT, and now he gets a sweet Ross Chastain autographed helmet to add to his collection. So can't get much better than that, man. Great start of the season for that guy.
Yeah, hey, we saw a lot of people get lucky in Daytona. Why not Travis, too? We'll break down the Daytona races and the bets we had along with them, and we will break down Atlanta, give you the breakdown and the trends, and then give you our best bets. To hop into that Discord, we just ask for $3.99 a month or $36 for the year. That's only a little sprinkle of a bet. Just pass on that Austin Hill outright this weekend and come to the IBT Racing Family, and we'll help you out the rest of the way.
Yeah, man. It's better to ride and die with your brothers. We were sweating out that rain delay and, keeping each other company. And it was fun to kind of enjoy the sorrow and the misery together and then, have the actual race to be chatting back and forth with. So that was a blast. And hey, don't be firing shots at Austin Hill already, Elliot. Come on, early in the night. Come on, big country week. Let's go.
It'll be nonstop. But hey, let's take a look back at Daytona in the rearview. Got the Traveler and Coke rolling tonight. Shout out JRM, top 10 in their first Cup race. In the Truck Series at Daytona, Parker Kligerman was the first to cross the finish line, but that number 75 truck failed inspection. They lost the appeal today. So Corey Himes' year starts off pretty well. He takes home the win. In Xfinity, Austin Hill was dominating, had a mechanical issue, knocked him out, just hands it right off to his teammate Jesse Love, who takes the win in that number 2. And in the Cup Series, last lap carnage, the new lucky horseshoe man, William Byron, ends up coming through first and claiming the checkered flag. Exciting finish, some exciting bets too. Jimmy Johnson, all I needed was a lead lap finish. He ends up P3. I know Rod Villagomez was very happy to see that.
Yeah, man. And look, I think that the way I want to address the Daytona 500 is like, I get that people are upset online that super speedway racing isn't exactly what it used to be. and it definitely needs to be addressed. However, there should absolutely be a light shined on the Daytona 500 weekend because it's still awesome. And this year was nothing short of amazing once again, all the way from, early in the weekend where we had Cletus McFarland flying down the backstretch like a damn bald eagle in the ARCA race, to little Gator JRM finishing top 10 on Sunday, Jimmy Johnson getting back into the mix with the top 3, and then William Byron holding that second Harley J. Earl trophy, breaking Jeff Gordon's record to be the youngest to win 2 Daytona 500. So many great stories that I feel like are kind of getting lost in the sauce of negativity this week, man.
Yeah, and I totally understand the negativity. It really sucks because Daytona 500 and the super speedway races are more luck-based than they ever have been.
Yep.
With William Byron, he was running like 9th on the last lap, was 3rd or 4th row back.
Same row as Cody Ware.
Right.
Row as Cody Ware when that wreck happened. We almost had a Cody Ware Daytona 500 winner.
Yeah, thank Christ that didn't happen. But no, so it's more luck-based than it ever has been. But it's really good racing. I mean, it's a lot of different lead changes and things like that. The pack racing is pretty entertaining. It certainly is more entertaining to me than the tandem drafting era that people are trying to romanticize that now. I mean, maybe this was because I was a younger kid, early teen years when this was really going on. I thought the 2x2 tandem drafting was some of the most boring racing I've ever seen.
Loved it. I loved the tandem, but that was I loved seeing, different players come up and lead laps. Like that was cool for, you'd see guys who weren't going to lead laps the entire season.
Yeah, and that's my more extended point too, is that I understand that wasn't luck-based. You got that run, you two earned it, and you made it to the front. This is way more luck-based, but it is still exciting, and we will certainly, I feel like, romanticize these finishes as much as people romanticize the tandem drafting, even though I do feel like I remember a lot of complaints about that back in the day. In terms of my betting card, of course, I threw out, if you were in the Discord, you saw this, I threw out just a ridiculous amount of bets. Some was just sprinkles, some with some more serious unit allocation on it. I had the Jimmy lead lap finish. That was nice. Nobody had any faith in him. Gets his by far best finish in the next gen. The Alex Bowman top 10 at plus 140. I felt like it was like taking candy from a baby and ended up getting that. My bet on an early big one paid off. Drivers not completing 100 laps, over 3.5, hit at plus 120. And in the truck series, I don't even remember if this ended up in the Discord, just throwing out some shit on the trucks. I noticed Bet365 has the old school horse racing allocation of not just the win bet, but like a win place show where anywhere from 1st to 4th, you get a portion of your bet paid back to you. I hadn't done one of those bets before. I laid it down on Gio Ruggiero, who I believe was a 60-1 outright in the trucks. Ends up 3rd. Wow. They didn't pay me out after the disqualification for his P2. I got the P3 money, but it was still a nice little handful back for what was a little sprinkle of a bet on a guy who had a really great run in the trucks.
Yeah, I've been seeing that offering over there, and I was curious what exactly that was. So that's great to know. I appreciate that information, Elliot. Something I'll be looking at in the future. For me, I mean, I was way overexposed going into the weekend. I'll admit it. Like I had some bets that I absolutely loved. My 2 biggest bets of the weekend hit. Bubba to lead a lap. Also, the over 12.5 parlay that I placed all the way back in December also hit. So my 2 biggest bets worth 5 units hit. But besides that, I really was overexposed. I think I learned my lesson once again. I lost 7 units on the weekend. We're still damn near even after having a great clash to open up here. But like Cody Ware, I needed him to lead lap finish. Oh, damn near won the races, I just said, Elliot. And ends up getting involved, clipped late in that wreck, or he would have been a top 5 car. So that was a bummer. And then SVG, 5 feet away from leading a lap, man. I don't know if you were watching that as closely as I was, but I was fired up, ready to go, Busch Light in hand for that one. So, yes, I definitely got murdered a little bit, but hey, we're gonna keep swinging. We're keep throwing darts out there because that's what we do here at IBT. And speaking of IBT, man, we got a loaded chat, man. Marcus was hanging out with us hours before we went live. We also got our guy Bob Bodner in the chat saying he's going with Suarez. I know our guy Bob hit Suarez last year here, I think 30-something to 1. So going back to it, Kush likes Blaney. Love you, Kush. Hope you're having a great night, man. Then we also got TK in the chat saying, what's going on here? TK, we appreciate you riding with us as always, man. And then Lana, also happy to see you guys. Atlanta equals Blaney. I think Lana might be on to something, Elliot. I think it could be a talk weekend, brother.
Maybe. Yeah, I like Bob's pick too. And TK, hey, man, I'm only a couple of months away from a big-time setup upgrade here, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other final takeaways for you here, Elliot? on Daytona as we kind of close the book on that. Because overall, I just thought a magical weekend. So many storylines that we don't have all the time to touch on. And regardless of how the betting cards did, I will always be invested in the Great American Race.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I'm happy I won the 4 bets. Did I lose probably 14 other bets, if not more? Yeah, but it's the Daytona 500. I threw out my allocation the way I wanted to, and it's going to be a much smaller card this weekend and other weeks because, hey, the prestige of winning the Daytona 500, it's also pretty damn cool to win Daytona 500 bets in any way, shape, or form also.
Absolutely. We got Brian in the chat saying he's going with Blaney too. Oh, a lot of Penske love. You guys are going to like my card. You guys are going to like my card this week. And I don't think Elliot will, but I think some people in the IBT family chat will. Elliot, we did have some news coming out of Daytona this week, though, if we would like to hit that.
Yeah, the big news of the week is Chase Briscoe was hit with major penalties for an illegal modification to a spoiler. That's a single source part. I believe they modified something with the bolts on that. He was penalized 100 points. Crew Chief James Small, I believe, was it 4 races he was out for? I don't know why I didn't write it down.
Yep.
And then a big time fine for them as well. It makes sense why that car was so damn fast in qualifying a couple of nights ago. Briscoe hit with a big time penalty, -67 heading into Atlanta.
I wonder if this was intentional. You would think it would be because it is a single source part, right? Like you think they had to know this. Like, why are we doing this? This 2 years in a row. Last year Logano's thrown out, webbed gloves to make him win the pole. 2 years in a row, the winner of the Daytona 500 pole is caught doing some sneaky bullshit, Elliot. So I'm not a fan of that. Like Chase Briscoe, welcome to Joe Gibbs Racing. This is a big fuck you to him. He's got a long way to go. I wouldn't feel great if I had a Chase Briscoe championship ticket right now. I do have the, over 1.5 wins. I know you have him against Ty Gibbs in the standings, which I think still should be very live to win, but doesn't make me feel great from a futures perspective. But hey, at least they're out there cutting it. And also looks like Todd Gilliland and Cody Ware deducted some points this week as well.
Yep, I was going to mention that afterward. They were docked just 10 points, ballast not in their proper containers and pre-qualifying tech. Definitely not as major as this, though. Not expecting Todd Gilliland or Cody Ware to be up in the championship favorites like Briscoe. For me, the points don't really matter as much. He was going to be a guy who was either going to win his way in or wasn't going to make it in. I don't have Briscoe in line for one of those guys to kind of point his way in. I feel like if he was going to run well enough to point his way in a Gibbs car, he'll win a race. I feel like in an SHR car, especially the way it was with Briscoe in the car, not super dominant, they'd be more likely to point their way in. But I still think the 19 gets the victory lane, wins his way into the playoffs that way. They did, I believe, playoff points were part of this penalty too, so it may take him a little more catching up. It may affect his regular season or his playoff initial seeding with the playoff points gone. But in any case, if you're going to get these major penalties, you may as well have it at Daytona. Get all the prestige of the pole, make it through the race weekend, and then realize, oh shit, we messed something up, and that happens after the race.
Yeah, I know there's someone out on a boat who's smiling right now. That's for sure. That's for damn sure out there. Their guy Marty. We got Nick in the chat saying, I'm going with Brad Keselowski this week at Atlanta. Don't blame you there. One bit, man. Brad Keselowski also pretty high up in our model this week. And TK saying, bad week for Trackhouse. Sucks for SVG to coast most of the race and barely gain 2 spots by the end. Yeah, that was tough. I had a lot invested in Trackhouse. I had AJ Allmendinger in my fantasy lineup. Elliot go out with a classic colleague motorsports issues.
He went out so quick that I didn't even mention it on the broadcast. I had to find out from seeing him run last, say out, and Parker says he's out with a problem. Allmendinger. He did though, as far as I heard. In the challenge of drivers finishing in every position from 1st to 43rd. I think all he needed was that 41st. So he had another career accomplishment for Allmendinger.
All I got to say too, and again, I don't want to be the air of negativity because NASCAR is fucking awesome. Happy to have it back. But can Fox tell us when people are exiting the race and coming back in? Like that was the most frustrating part is like every 45 minutes having to figure out or using, pulling up the NASCAR live app to see who's out of the race, because I had bets on Zane Smith who went out early. I had a bet on Allmendinger who went out early. So like, tell me who's in the damn race. That's all I'm asking. Like, it ain't crazy. Jeez.
Yeah, it really was a stark difference from seeing NBC and the way they did it over the last half of the season.
Dude.
Coming back to Fox. I mean, Mike Joy is still great, but other than that, definitely a lot of problems here. This isn't a broadcast show. This is a betting show, so I won't get on my soapbox about that. Lord knows I could bitch about it for 10 minutes. I mean, we both have degrees that are related to broadcasting. We can go on about that all day, but that's on a separate podcast. That's not the back road. What is the back road here is some fast lap news relating to the lower series. Of course, I mentioned Parker Kligerman lost his appeal, will not or get back that Daytona win.
Man.
Yeah.
This guy gets fucked over every chance he gets and still goes out and just has an absolute, speaking of broadcast, great performance.
CW, great job.
I mean, give me the CW for Cup at this point, brother. I'll take him. Parker Kligerman in the seat, Jamie Mack on the call. I love it. I'm all about it.
Adam Alexander, still one of the best in the business too.
Yeah.
We'll get to see them call a bunch of races for the Hendrick Motorsports number 17. They announced their full schedule, 10 races for Corey Day, which we expected him to run a whole lot, especially in the latter portion of the year. Each of their Cup drivers also get at least one turn are in that 17 car. William Byron will drive it twice at Circuit of the Americas in a couple of weeks, as well as at Charlotte. We'll see Kyle Larson run it at Homestead and in the spring Bristol race. Alex Bowman gets his turn at the spring Phoenix race. Chase Elliott will drive it at Darlington, a car that we'll definitely be looking out for in the outrights, at least when the Cup guys run it. Will definitely be an intriguing bet for sure.
Every single time, man. This is one of the best cars in this garage when it's entered into races. We know they have an alliance with Junior Motorsports. So really, a fifth or sixth Junior Motorsports car, whatever way you want to put it out there. So yeah, Byron it is definitely going to be a threat at COTA to our Connor Zilich play. So looking forward to that and seeing how that shakes out. And is it
Chastain or SVG that'll run the other JRM car at COTA?
I
think it's Ross.
I think it is Ross as well. He's
You guys will find out next week. Seth and Rod will be able to take you through all the COTA too. So that's always a fun race weekend for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So Hendrick Motorsports will be on the betting card multiple times this year in the Xfinity Series, 100%.
And so will Joe Gibbs Racing for you, because Eric Almirola is back in the seat for 9 races starting this week at Atlanta. I put in the Discord, that sounds a hell of a lot like 9 tickets cashed one way or another for Seth Woolcock.
Dude, I mean, he won our fantasy betting MVP last year because every time this guy was on the track, he was an absolute weapon. Look for him in Martinsville in a couple. I'm sure it's going to be juiced to hell. We might get creative with how we're playing him, Elliot, but on those short tracks and even, hey, watch out for him here as well. I think he can mix it up. He was matched up against Jesse Love on the Super Speedway. I was like, I ain't going against Eric Almirola. No way. And I love Jesse Love. We'll talk about Xfinity later because I got a little value there in the futures market after last week. But yeah, give me some Eric Almirola. I'm betting that 9 times out of 9.
Yeah, remind me of this one when we get to Martinsville. Maybe a little Almirola, Carson Kvapil combined top 5 if they keep up these top 5 parlays that we're seeing on Caesars. Remember that one in a couple of months, assuming he races there. In terms of other lower series stuff, Kyle Busch is going to run his 5 truck races split between the 7 and the 07 for Spire. Starting this week at Atlanta, he'll also run North Wilkesboro, Charlotte, Nashville, and the Glen. Rowdy only won 2 of his 5 truck races last year. Feels like he at least hits that number, if not the over, in these 5 particular tracks.
Always a weapon, man. Kyle Busch in the Truck Series. We know we're probably going to get one full-time series run from him towards the end of his career. He's talked about that, and then potentially also, running a split schedule with his son at one point. So Kyle Busch in the Truck Series, man, it goes together like peanut butter and jelly, goes together like Busch Light in a Friday night. So I'm all the way there, and not invested this weekend. But the great thing about Kyle Busch being in these truck races is it creates so much value for the rest of the board. It's absolutely time to get invested in the trucks when Kyle Busch is in play, regardless whether you're betting on him or not.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Some great value on the books there for sure. And for Rowdy, I'd love to see him go get the truck title. Nobody's ever won a Cup, Xfinity, and Truck Series title all in their career. Rowdy be the first to do it. But again, we're not a broadcast show. We are not a talk about NASCAR future show, at least most of the time. Sometimes we get bored in the off season, or occasionally Seth let me put on the tinfoil hat. But anyway, let's take a look at what's coming up this week in the Atlanta Horizon Forecast.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
So we are looking ahead to the Atlanta Motor Speedway this weekend. The entry list in the Cup Series, obviously your 36 chartered vehicles, as well as 3 open cars, all guaranteed to make the race. Congratulations to JJ Yaley in the 44 and BJ McLeod in the 78 DNQs for the 500, but they'll be in the Ambetter Health 400 on Sunday. And Corey LaJoie is back in the 01 as well for all the shit that we give Corey LaJoie, another quick Daytona thing, for all the shit that we give him, he put himself in position to win that race. I think was in control of the race on one of the final restarts. So good on him. And Atlanta has been better to him than Daytona. So go ahead and give it a shot there, bud.
Yeah, 55-1 this weekend. Honestly, if you want a crazy gainer, Corey LaJoie really impressed me last week. And, I know we gave him a lot of shrapnel. I know he took a lot of shrapnel on the internet after, the quote about the truck steers and whatnot. But this guy went out in the Doles. He performed. He went out there once again on Sunday and performed. And yeah, so shout out to him in that stacking pennies car. It looked good out there and looked good on him to have a great run. So shout out to the 01 for telling Elliot and me and the entire IBT family to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I'll hope to do that again in Atlanta. The weekend schedule on Friday, you get the qualifying for the trucks at 3:05 p.m. for Xfinity at 5:05 p.m. Then on Saturday, Cup qualifying at 11:30 a.m. All right, look at me, everybody. Don't send out tweets to Bob. Don't send out tweets to Glock. I'm telling you right here, you will have to stream this on Amazon Prime.
Yep.
There's no practice this week. Qualifying for Daytona was on Fox or FS1 or whatever. It'll be the same for the All-Star race. It's on Prime the first half of the year. Any practices that we have, any qualifying that we have, Amazon Prime. Buy it, get a free trial, get a cracked login from somebody, doesn't matter. That's where you're going to see it. It's Amazon Prime. This is 2025. It's the new world. Get a streaming service. So there, 11:30 a.m. is your Cup qualifying. Then at 1:30 p.m., we have the Truck Series Freight 208. That'll be on FS1. And then the Xfinity Series will be at 5 p.m. on the CW, just as every race will be. It's the Bennett Transportation and Logistics 250. If that sounds familiar, it's on Austin Hill's car all the time. They figured, hey, why not have the Bennett car win the Bennett race if it's going to win a race, right?
Yeah, absolutely makes sense, man. 3-1 at most places, so they know they're looking out for us bettors for telling us what to get down on.
Yep, Bennett car win the Bennett race. We'll see. Sunday, then the big show, the Cup Series Ambetter Health 400, stage length 60, 100, and 100. The stage racing too, man. At super speedways leads to all that fuel saving, but it keeps the packs together. In Atlanta, the packs together gave us one of the best finishes that we've ever seen last year with that three wide thriller.
Yeah, man, it's a little bit more of a handling super speedway and still not your traditional super speedway. It's a 1.5 miles. So call it a super speedway, call it a drafting track, whatever you want to call it. It is narrower than the Talladega, kind of more similar to what we were at in Daytona, but does, as I mentioned, require a little bit more handling. So just kind of something to keep in mind there. And we do usually see some pretty fun racing. I know last year we were seeing people put it 4 wide. Kyle Busch had a couple crazy moves, I remember, to get to the front. So
I think Chris Buescher put it 5 wide at one point there in the middle. So something interesting too is I think this was Ty Gibbs in preseason meet or something like that. I heard somebody say Atlanta is racing almost less and less like a super speedway as the next gen car develops and as the track develops. So that'll be interesting to watch, at least in the coming years. But for now, definitely still comparison directly with Daytona and Talladega, just like our betting model does, that you can get a little preview of on the website in our best bets article tomorrow.
We got our guy Nick in the chat asking for the Truck Series odds. Buddy, we're gonna get there. I can promise you. We're gonna go through here. We're gonna preview the race, and then we'll go into Cup Series, we'll go into Xfinity, and we'll go into Truck. Don't you worry, buddy. We're gonna get you there. A little Michael McDowell love for our guy Nick. I think he's tapped in with Elliot over there. But appreciate everyone tuning in live with us again. Thank you so much. If you enjoy this type of content, do us a quick favor. Give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel if you are new. But yeah, back to looking here at the Atlanta preview, Elliot. Of course, we can lean on some of the Daytona information and data that we gathered last week and throughout the past 2 years in the next gen era. Talladega, same type of thing. And now we do have 6 races on this reconfigured Atlanta we're really pulling most of our data from. I'm not looking at anything pre-22 Atlanta. I don't care. Like I don't care who's won how many races. And I'm going to give you the trends in a second, and it's all after 2022. It just doesn't matter, man.
It was a whole different track. I mean, they reconfigured the track. If you want to look at old Atlanta data, wait till we get to your Kansases or your Vegas or something like that. It was also it was really nice the way that they timed it out. I don't know if this was intentional or not. When we got the next gen car in 2022, that's when we got the new Atlanta. So we don't really look at a lot of the past next gen stuff. I mean, sometimes in wins and maybe polls and things like that. But a lot of our data is, of course, in the next gen era. Now that we're in our 4th season of it, that also parallels directly to new Atlanta.
100%. Looking at some of those trends, as I mentioned, these are coming after the reconfiguration in 2022. we only have 2 active pole winners in the field right now. It looks like a lot of these guys who have since retired were winning some of these hot Atlanta poles. We got Michael McDowell, who has 2 poles, Joey Logano, who also has a pole. Winners in the current configuration includes Joey Logano. He's got 2 wins here at Hot Atlanta. William Byron with 2 as well. Daniel Suarez, of course, won that spring epic race last year. And then Chase Elliott back in 2022 also won one of these Atlanta races. That means Toyota has never won on the current configuration. Chevy's won 4 times and Ford has won twice. Winners in the current configuration have also come from the pole 33% of the time. Top 10, 50% of the time, outside the top 10, 50% of the time. So we've seen everyone from Joey Logano, who's been on the pole and win this, Chase Elliott's been on the pole and win this in the current config, Elliott, and also Daniel Suarez, who was the furthest back to win this starting in 23 position last spring.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure if the numbers add up there, 50%, or I guess, yeah, no. I'm an idiot. I've had too much sip of travel.
Don't question the trends. Don't question the trends.
What I meant to say, let's pretend I made this point first, is that I noticed in the manufacturer bets, I'm always looking at it, there's always one that's a little behind the other. This week it was Toyota, I think somewhere around 375 compared to Chevy and Ford sub plus 200. And yeah, rightfully so. They haven't won a race here. And the same super speedway argument of they just have less horses in the race, so to speak. And therefore, it makes it much more difficult on the super speedways where everyone works together in these manufacturer packs.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Real quick, before we jump into the bets, wanted to get to our iFantasyRace.com Asterisk Mark Drive of the Week. If you guys haven't checked out iFantasyRace.com yet, what are you doing? Go over there. You're going to get so much insightful data. We use it to power our betting model. And this week, Elliot, we're talking Ty Gibbs.
Yep. I mean, there were an absolute host of different guys to pick from. I mean, if you remember early last fall, Larson and Briscoe both got taken out early because of Larson's flat tire. Ty Gibbs was the guy who I wanted to go with this week. Top 10 contender in that summer race, but finished a pretty misleading 17th there. He was 10th in stage 1, 9th in stage 2, led 23 laps in the race, had the 10th best driver rating, and an 11.7 average running position. So he was running pretty well, not quite a contender at the front like your Cindric, your Suarez, your Bowman, your Logano were last year throughout that race. But he was running up front, and he was heavily impacted by that last lap carnage. Before the overtime restart, he was running P9, so right around that average running spot. Ended up losing out on that top 10 to finish 17th. Like we said, a lot of guys involved in that last lap carnage last year really affected their finishing positions. Ty Gibbs one to look at this week as the Asterisk Mark Driver of the Week.
Yeah, you don't give Ty Gibbs a lot of credit when we come to these high variable tracks. I think, we're more looking to bet him at places like Kansas and the shorter flats a little bit. Phoenix, when we go there in a couple weeks. But
he'll be on my card in Bristol, I can tell you that.
Yeah, and honestly, this just feels par for the course, whether it's something of Ty Gibbs' own doing or it's him doing a donut in the Xfinity race out of frustration and running into Chandler Smith. It just feels like this guy's always getting in the thick of something. And, the iFantasy Race Asterisk Mark report this week tells us just that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Something to watch on these super speedways. There's always a lot of chaos, but hey, we break it all down for you, and we'll break down our best bets of the weekend in this week's Parking Garage Props.
Let's do it.
In terms of impressions of the books, I thought it was neat that they kept a few of the books kept a lot of the interesting markets from Daytona. Some of these, team triples or these top 3, top 5, top 10 parlays that we saw throughout series as well.
Yeah, they even had some over-unders on Toledo lap, which I thought was really cool. We don't usually get that outside of Daytona, so that was really cool to see. I appreciate the speed of the sports books this week. We had stuff out Monday night. Tuesday, we had a lot of offerings. I had damn near most of my Cup Series card put together by the time I went to bed Tuesday night, Ellie. I was like a kid in a candy store, man. You couldn't take me out there. So appreciate what the books gave us. And, a little slow, DraftKings hasn't posted any truck odds. But aside from that, truck odds were up really early this week as well. So good on you, books. Thank you so much, man. You can tell it's a growing market. At least that's what they think after last week.
Yeah, hell, having truck odds this morning when I went to go take a peek at those was honestly a blessing too. In some of these books.
And last week too, man, every single book, I put out a Twitter thread. I ranked the best promotions that all the books put out. I didn't get invested with any because I was already overly invested, as I noted. But I mean, there are boosts on top 10 parlays that DraftKings is bringing back, which we hadn't seen in a long time. There are boosts on top 10s at FanDuel. They're just general 25, 50% boost across different sports books. So I really appreciate them. They saw the Daytona 500. Hey, the first week without football, we need to offer some type of boost, and they gave it to us. So, let's keep an eye out. I know BetRivers has one each and every Sunday that they'll put out, but excited to see kind of what the other books offer on a week in to week out basis.
Yeah, man, keep it up. It's exciting to see. The only thing I could want at the super speedways is those top 20s, but plenty of other ways to make money, including this week. There's one driver to start off with. Between the two of us, we've got 4 separate bets on this guy. It was hard for me to piece together these graphics, but he's the right place to start, and I'll leave it with you.
Yeah, so Austin Cindric 13-1 at BetRivers. I think this is a great value play because you go to other sports books, he's 10-1, 11-1. I think he's still, when I looked right before the show, I believe he was still 13-1 at BetRivers, and that line is moving at the other sports books. So I advise, if you're going to get invested, let's do it sooner rather than later. And there's 2 sides to this coin, I really feel like, Elliot. Like, one is just the eye test. Like, you could argue that Austin Cindric has become the best super speedway racer. The way he can get to the front, moving very, very diligently in the process. And then when he gets there, he controls both lanes. And Denny called it out, on Actions Detrimental this week, that Cindric is one of the cleanest drivers on super speedways because he knows when and when not to block. And that's so important here because you get guys like Brad and Michael Keselowski or Brad and Michael McDowell who are always just, hey, I got to block every single run. And sometimes you don't have to. And then there's like the analytical part of this, right? He was second in our model this week. Last week, he led the most laps at Daytona. He had a race high 5.7 average running position after pulling it or putting it on the front row in qualifying and then winning the duel as well. And I really think, Elliot, like, we're in the midst of a 4th-year Austin Cindric ascension, and I refuse to be late to this party. I didn't get invested in the futures market. I believe his over-under was set at a half a win. I think I was probably out smoking a joint on the patio in this scenario, but I was still making it there. I'm still making it to the party now. I'm still there. I'm bringing the chips. I'm a little late, but still, I refuse to be any later than now. 10-1 on a lot of books, so give me 13-1 from our friends from the Berg.
Hey, nothing wrong with showing up fashionably late to a party. I'm not going to jump on quite that much as to say Cindric could be a week in, week out contender. I know he ran well in the playoffs last year. I just want to see a little more from him outside of super speedways. But in terms of super speedways, you make a really good point. Obviously, we've got many talking points on Cindric to come, but for now, I'll say that this is a guy who's not only a good racer himself, but his 2 teammates, 2 of the best on super speedways, Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney. And who was in that 2 car before Cindric? Brad Keselowski, who's got a boatload of super speedway wins himself, tied for the most wins at Talladega, has won at Daytona as well, and come close on this new Atlanta. Cindric definitely a guy to look at, and a guy obviously we will continue to look at. Before we talk more Penske, though, because there's plenty of Penske too, you can't ignore Daniel Suarez here. Bob brought it up in the comments. He's maybe the best driver at the new Atlanta. This might be his favorite track at this point. There's been 6 races here, and Suarez has been top 6 in 5 of 6 of those. In his last 3, P2, P1, and P2 again last fall. And in the Daytona 500, Trackhouse ran into a lot of trouble. Chastain and SVG, or Chastain and Castro Neves, and maybe SVG too, were they all involved in the same wreck? I know they all wrecked out kind of around the same time. Suarez was the guy who made it through the carnage. It didn't run. He wasn't like super duper up front. He wasn't necessarily a contender to win that race, but he stayed in it most of the time, and that's more to say compared to his other 3 teammates. Suarez at the new Atlanta, plus 2,200 at BetMGM. This was a line that was also shorter on other books. Nice to know that we've got some occasional good outright offerings there. BetRivers doing the same on Cindric as well. You can't ignore Suarez. You can't ignore him this week in that 99.
Yeah, you can't. I'm going to choose to just because like Trackhouse absolutely fucking burnt me last week. But but I totally understand.
Poor Elio too, by the way. Poor Elio. Got wrecked every race he was in.
Yeah, got wrecked every damn race he was in, and then everyone's bitching about him on Twitter too. Like, have some respect. Like, come on, we're trying to get Joseph Newgarden's ass to run one of these races, and Max.
None of those wrecks were his fault, and even the other Trackhouse guys too. They all wrecked out when Logano had his missed shift at the front, stacked everybody up.
Yeah,
they all were just running their race and all got destroyed. But anyway,
yeah. So no, I'm with you on Suarez. He was a guy I remember at Atlanta who helped me cash quite a few bets. I know I had an outright on Chevy last year in this race. I also had Suarez in like a 3-1 group bet when I was still back in my early days of betting groups. So yeah, I don't blame you at all. I know there's a lot of love for him in the chat too. So good call out there. I'm going to throw out Ryan Blaney. He's another one that the IVT family member, rightfully so, is on. Number 2 in the Atlanta Next Gen Total Speed rankings. Also number 1 in the Next Gen average finish at Atlanta. This guy always finishes good here. He was by far number 1 in our model, Elliot, and he would have been like a damn near. We do this thing in our betting model. If you guys are part of the IVT family, you get this every week, but we do grades where we'll give you a percentage grade on these drivers to really show you like how strongly we feel about him. Blaney, before factoring his 2024 Dega and Daytona finishes, this guy was at like a 98%. Like, he doesn't seem to finish good at those 2 tracks over the last year. But aside from that, he is everything right with Atlanta here. Last year, specifically, number 1 in driver rating in both Atlanta races, and number 1 and number 2, respectively, in average running position in the spring and the fall race. So I'm firing up Ryan Blaney. 10-1 at FanDuel is a great number. He's another one that's been out there. Like, I've seen him 7.5. I've seen him 8-1. I wouldn't go that far, but if you can get a 10-1 on Ryan Blaney at FanDuel right now, a place that is egregious with always offering cash out opportunities, go for it.
Yeah, 10-1. I wouldn't go any further than that, but I do like a 10-1 for Blaney. Obviously, Penske, the best team on super speedways. All 3 of their drivers, I think, were in the top 6 of our model. Suarez was not too far behind. He was a little bit lower too, because of course our model for the week heavily factors in Atlanta. We got both Atlanta races from last year, those cumulative stats, got the Daytona 500 runs as well, but also factors in Daytona, Talladega average finish from last year. We know Suarez had that issue at the summer Daytona race where I think he finished last, and just some bad luck at these super speedways. Like, I'm really excited to delve into this model. I mean, next week is a road course, but once we get to these traditional ovals where you can just weigh so much that's similar, I'm really excited to see what this model spits out. Not that it's not good at super speedways. It's just you can hit every tick on a model, and then Joey Logano goes for a hole that's not there with 6 laps to go and crashes out half of your top 10 in the model.
Well, and it makes me feel good, Elliot, that so far this season, really we've had the winner in the top 6 of both of our models. And also, like, in addition to that, like, more than anything, we're lined up with the sports books. You know what I mean? Like, we are really lined up. Like, Blaney is the favorite for them. Blaney's the favorite for us. Cindric's one of their favorites. Like, we're very in line with things. So it makes me feel like they have a similar model that they're kind of running as well. So, and it still is giving us an opportunity to find some value. I'll finish out the outrights here, Elliot. I don't think you had any more here. So I'm also down on Penske. So I just took flyers on Cindric and Blaney. Like, I believe I went 0.2 of a unit on Blaney. I went 0.4 of a unit on Cindric. And then I went 1.5 units on Team Penske to win, because I think either of these guys could win. Joey Logano's won this race twice, including last time we've been here. A guy who would not quit in that Daytona 500, just kept having issue after issue, coming back down pit road, trying to figure out what it was, ends up getting his way back to lead lap, makes his way up to the top 5, and then gets in that incident with Ricky, Ricky Spinhouse.
I wonder how that race would have finished if he had just ended up having to retire the car. I know at least Ryan Preece probably would have been happier. Maybe he wouldn't have flipped in the same way that he did. That poor guy too. My God.
Yeah, and I honestly, the different conversation for a different show. Yeah. Everyone's thrown Joey Logano under the bus. I'm okay with that move. He had the space. I'm not okay with what Ricky Stenhouse did to block him, but totally different show. So I'm going with the Penske outright here. And then another outright that I thought had a little bit of value as well. Hendrick Motorsports plus 450. They've won both races so far this season. We have Alex Bowman 7th in our model, William Byron 3rd, Chase Elliott 4th. So really between Penske, I'm expecting Penske or HMS to win this week, Elliot. I just really am, man. Like, when you look at the model, they are 6 of the top 7 drivers here. So, and it's just a sprinkle for me on Hendrick. I have another bet that I need some Chase Elliott exposure to hedge myself off of. So that was really kind of the half a unit play here on HMS. And I feel really covered because I really like Bowman this week too. I thought Bowman, I'm surprised you don't have any Bowman on your card yet, because I'm sure you'll probably get there this weekend. But I was seeing him out some places like 28-1 earlier in the week.
Yeah, I don't have any outright. You will see the 48 on my card here in a little bit, but
Mhm.
and you took the words right out of my mouth there with the model. Penske and Hendrick, the three Penske and 3 of the 4 Hendrick, all in the top 10 in our model. Kyle Larson, his one weakness is still the super speedways.
Yeah.
Hasn't been able to make his way up there. So the way super speedways go, I almost expect the 5 car to win, but that definitely is, if you're going to take the team outrights, I know the numbers aren't quite as long as we might want for outrights, but it does give you really all the eggs in the basket for the logical winners with these Penske, your Cindric, your Blaney, even my Suarez thrown in. I really feel like both the model and these bets, we've got most of the outrights covered here, but that doesn't mean the placement props aren't important.
Yeah, absolutely. Fire away, man, because I'm once again staying out of the placement props for the Cup Series here. Found some other avenues I wanted to morely get invested with, but I'd love to hear what you have across the top 5, top 10, and any other markets here.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, this might be like the most split that our cards have ever been. I know we've kind of avoided the matchups in the groups. You've got a bunch of outrights, I've got a bunch of placements. You've got a bunch of specials, and then I've got a bunch in the lower series. So if one of us or the other is talking a little too much, that's probably why our cards are more split than usual. But I'll rattle off both my top 5s here. I don't have the Cindric outright, but I do have the Cindric top 5. It's a 2-1 over on Caesars. He's finally getting the recognition as a top super speedway driver. You know, obviously he's had his struggles at other places. It's taken him a while to really warm up to the Cup Series. But we talk about this all the time with rookies and young drivers, especially in the next gen era, where it's an entirely different car to drive than the Xfinity car. It's a different car than the late models you drive. It's a different car than the Cup Series had raced in all of its previous history until the last couple of years. Maybe it just takes these younger guys some more time to warm up to it. And maybe that is what we're seeing with Cindric. In any case, though, he can't be ignored on the super speedways. I've used that phrase a lot tonight. But he ran so well at the Daytona 500. Like I said, second in the model. In the last 5 at New Atlanta, he hasn't been worse than 12th. The last 5 races, 3rd, 11th, 12th, 4th, and 10th here. He's led in each of those races. He's led 10 laps in the last 3 of those, at least 10 laps in the last 3 of those races. In the races last year, 32 laps led in the spring, 92 laps led as he really dominated that race in the fall. I mean, we can't wax poetic anymore about Cindric, so I'll move to my other top 5. Kyle Busch, a guy who it didn't work out at Daytona. We threw a lot of eggs in the Kyle Busch basket. It didn't work. Obviously, here he was so close last year. He was there. And just got caught up in bad luck in Daytona. Was running pretty well, running up in the front, gets involved in that crash, and gets taken out by some other BS DVP stuff that NASCAR still needs to work out. But again, we've done our in the review. I don't want to talk about Daytona. The Super Speedway stats are still there for Kyle Busch. 5th in our model, as if you haven't mentioned yet, there's the mention for it. Top 7 in the last 3 races here, P5, P3, P7. And in last year's races, he also led significant laps in both of them, 28 in the spring, 24 in the fall. I know I don't really bet the top 5s even that much. I'm more of like, you take the outright or you take the top 10 and you cover your bases. But as confident as you can feel about guys on super speedways to run at the front, both at 2-1, the 2 and the 8 are my 2 favorites in that market.
No, I totally get it, man. I had my heart ripped out with the Kyle Busch outright 16-1 at this very track in this very race last year. So I totally get you wanted to get invested. He rates a healthy 5 on our model. So you're right in line with our projections as well.
Yeah, he's up there. So top 5, they're both top 5 in the model. And the model certainly has worked out for us so far. So as if the stats on paper on Racing Reference that I look at don't do it well enough, or just watching the races back, nice to know the model has my back as well. Also has my back with Alex Bowman for the top 10 at plus 125 on Caesars. We see so much juice, so much minus money for these top 10s. I just don't understand how they're still offering plus money for Bowman. I don't have my Allied tinted glasses, or I'd put those on because I understand I've got the fan bias on. But I still just don't know how the books still sleep on him at super speedways. He ran up front, got back up to the front multiple times in that Daytona race. He was kind of in it at the end, 3rd row back. He was further ahead than Byron and Jimmy Johnson and those guys. Just didn't work out in the end there, gets involved in that crash a little bit. Last fall here, one of those guys that ran up front most of the race ends up 5th. The Atlanta stats, they have it a little more down in our model. The Daytona Talladega stuff has kind of pushed him up. He's been involved in crashes in 3 of the 4 races before that P5 last fall. There was that big, I think it was lap 2 wreck that really knocked out a lot of guys. Was running in the top 5 or 10 a couple of years back and crashed out too, cut a tire down or something like that. For a guy like Bowman, he's in the Hendrick car. I know he gets a lot of crap, but the super speedway stats have been there. We've seen iFantasy Race tweet about it a lot.
Oh, yeah.
One of the best average finishes, if not the best average finish at Daytona in the next gen. And that probably still holds up after a P6 in the 500. Plus 125 is not necessarily an unfair number. I just feel like this is a guy that if you're going to put the top 1/3 of the field all juicy, you can't have that 48 not be just as juicy.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I saw the 28-1 earlier in the week. Now the best I'm seeing 25-1 on Alex Bowman, who's 8th in our model. Like that's, I think, great value. Um, didn't really have the best run here. Got caught up in the mix in the early spring race last year at Atlanta. But had a really good run in the other Atlanta race. Traditionally has good runs on super speedways, and like what a start for Alex Bowman once again. He got off to a hot start the last few years, and because it sets up really nice for him. They go to Daytona and then Atlanta, and then we're going to Coda here very soon as well, which Coda are arguably his best. I know he has won at the Chicago Street Course, but arguably his best, most consistent road course as well. So Alex Bowman, I can't blame you one bit here for a plus 125.
Just got to avoid that summer slump and just need a little more luck at Daytona. What ended up happening was he moved up to the third line as well as a couple guys shuffled around because when Riley Herbst crashed last Daytona, he kind of spins out. And I feel like 9 times out of 10, whoever's driving that car goes into the inside wall, crashes, or NASCAR was quick on the caution button all weekend long, figured they'd throw the yellow, race is over, thought moving up would gain a couple of spots, and I'm sure other drivers did the same thing. Didn't work out in NASCAR, as it turns out, held the yellow all the way around. Thankfully, they learned from their mistakes and let it run to green at the end. But obviously, a lot of teams are going to think they're going to be quick on that trigger for the yellow.
Yeah, no, and absolutely love the placements you threw out here. I'll go ahead and shift to our one matchup of the weekend, and it's my hammer of the week. It's my favorite play of the entire slate this weekend, and I try not to really bet head-to-heads on super speedways, despite it really being my favorite market to frequent. But the gap here is crazy. Cindric, we've talked about him all weekend, all night. I don't need to talk more about him. He's second in our model. Know that. Denny Hamlin, 24th in our model, Elliot. That is too big of a gap not to get invested here. Denny Hamlin is so far down in the Atlanta next-gen average finishes. It's absurd. He has just one finish better than P14 in that span. So I'm fading Denny Hamlin here. Cindric is also 4-2 against him at this new Atlanta, 4-2 against him last season on super speedways as well. And I also think like Hamlin losing the 500, that's a gut wrench to a guy like that. He's older in his career. How many more shots is he going to get at the Great American Race? He sounded a bit jaded on Actions Detrimental, very fair in all the points he was making, but still, I think he's a little upset and he's going to a track in Atlanta where he hasn't had the best success. So I'm fading Denny Hamlin against Austin Cindric, who we're all over. And as long as Cindric beats Hamlin here, like I have a profitable cup race, and that's the play here. 3 units. Let's go.
It's a big hammer, and I'll give Denny Hamlin the benefit of the doubt, though. Obviously, the model does not look good, but keep in mind last fall, he basically took this race at the beginning of the playoffs. He took it and he threw it in the garbage, and he ran 25th all day, ended up finishing 24th after crashing out. But he's shown some life. He's been a guy who, before the next gen, really dominated at super speedways a lot of the times. Hasn't been the case so much in the next gen, but this man put himself in position to go out and win the Daytona 500 and would have had the shot coming off of 4 if not for Cole Custer getting a little antsy there. Oh. But that really showed me that Denny Hamlin has what it takes in this next gen. It's not just that he's lost his marbles or anything like that. I've maybe been higher there. But I take his disappointment and his anger on the podcast, and maybe he goes into this week saying, hey, I know I can still run up front. I know this sucks, and I want to give NASCAR the biggest middle finger that I can. Go out there and win the race and then shit on the race in the victory lane interview. You know what I mean?
Well, I certainly hope not, but I totally understand. I'm going to go the other way. That's a little bit of a deterrent for him, but
that's totally fair. I just wanted to play devil's advocate because I had the argument to make on Denny, which again, if you take a look at the Best Bets article we'll put out tomorrow, we can get some extended version of that also.
Last bet before we jump into the Xfinity series here for me. Actually, I lied. I have 2.
One's another Cindric, so there's not much to say about it. I did like this a lot, though, when I saw it, though. I like this. Austin
Cindric to win stage 2, 10-1 at Caesars. I'm going 0.2 of a unit, just another sprinkle. He was so close to winning stage 2 last week and just fell a little bit short. He has won stage 2 in 3 of the last 4 Atlanta races, Elliot. Ooh, wow. You know me. I'm a trends better, baby. So, 3 of the last 4, giddy up on a 10-1. I also, if you want to, take a little sprinkle on, like Ryan Blaney is like 5-1 to win both stages. So I think the fact they're getting Cindy at 10-1 has some value.
And you could also, if you really like Cindric to win the race, there's all those different bets on, does the winner of stage 1 win the race? Does somebody win both stages and then win the race? If you think Cindric is going to dominate and run up front all day, may as well throw some more eggs in that basket for sure. And something to note too, in the graphics, we threw the discount tire stuff in there. He will be in that yellow Menards car this weekend. I was looking for a good little way to set that up. So it won't be the discount tire. You'll think you see Blaney, and it's going to be Cindric out there. Blaney in the body armor, silver and black car this week, I think.
Okay, let's go. Last bet here for me for the Cup Series. This is also my second favorite bet of the weekend. I'm 2 units down on it. Even car number to win, -130 at Caesars. I think it's going to be a chalky weekend. And in this bet, you get 8 of our top 10 drivers in the model. 8 of 10, baby. Wow. You get the Penskes, all 3 of them. We get all 3 Penskes in this bet. You get William Byron and Alex Bowman, 2 guys we talked about tonight. Kyle Busch, who we've talked about tonight. You get bad Brad Keselowski, who always dangerous on these tracks, likes to block a little too much. We talked about that. And then you also get our guy Marcus's Christopher Bell as well in the number 20 car. So unless a long shot wins, the only cars I'm afraid of is Suarez and Chase Elliott in the top 10. I'm covering myself a little bit with the HMS bet of a half a unit, so I feel okay there. And the only other cars I think that could really, without upsetting the system here, win this race is 2311 cars or Ross Chastain that would fuck me. But having 8 of the top 10, man, I feel really good about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. Like you said, the underdog certainly can take it here. Ty Dillon's an even number. He could even get that for you too. And I guess the only other takeaway I have on it is it's a good thing Penske doesn't run the 77 anymore. You get all 3 of the Penske guys here.
Yeah, certainly. Very, very true. Mallory here is saying, just here to say my random number pick from last week and my random pick to win the whole season beat Alex Bowman. Oh, a little shade on the guy.
She threw out the JHN outright last week when I said, hey, pick a number from 1 to 99. She threw out the 100 to 1 JHN ticket, ends up 5th. I wish I would have placed the top 5 on that too.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I mentioned this on the show. I don't even remember how she came to this conclusion. But she said something like, this Tyler Reddick, I kind of like that guy. I think he's going to win the title. And I'm like, that's actually a way better bet than you realize. so she's pulling for the Reddick this year as well.
Shout out, Mal. We appreciate you tuning in as always. What do you say, though, Elliot? Should we shift gears here into the Xfinity and Truck Series odds?
Yeah, no doubt. And our cards look remarkably the same, too, and at least in Xfinity. You've got the outrights and I've got the placement prop. So we'll start wherever you want. I can give you a break from chatting if you want, or we can start naturally with the outrights we're going to start with the outrights because I'm going to throw up because I'm just absolutely disgusted by this bet you have on your card.
Yeah. So I, spent all day today staring at the Xfinity odds and I came to a conclusion, folks. I'm betting Austin Hill for the outright at +320 at FanDuel. I'm also going with the top 3. -125 at DraftKings. Look, I get it's a lot of juice to drink. I get it's no fun to pick chalky winners here at
another 3 glasses of juice for this Austin Hill bet. But you're right. I'll let you give the argument.
The thing is, man, is it's these RCR cars in the Xfinity series. They're on roids, man. When it comes to these super speedway tracks, Austin Hill especially is clearly the best super speedway racer in the Xfinity series. He controls the race and he bullies his way to get up there. He will draft with someone. They're like, I got Austin Hill behind me. We're going up to the front. And then as soon as he gets a chance, hey, I'm going to side draft the hell out of you and get up to the front. And that's what he does. Had a great chance of winning last week in Daytona. Had some technical issues that put him back. But he has won 3 super speedway in 6 tries last year. Also, hasn't won in the last 2. So he's due, man. He's definitely due. And he also started on the front row in 5 of 6 super speedways. He led a race high 56 laps last week at Daytona before those issues took him out. And on the Atlanta reconfiguration in 6 starts, 4 wins, 1 runner-up finish, and a 12th place finish. And he has never been outside the top 17 at either of the Atlanta races last year. So as far as he was going back with 17th, that makes me feel really good. So give me the chalk at +320 at FanDuel. He's 3-1, +270 at other places. So +325 at FanDuel. That's a great number for me. I'm willing to drink all the juice here on Austin Hill. It's a big country week, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, I think I probably messed up on the graphic there. I think it was 320 you have in your sheet here. I put 325. The top 3 at -115. The only problem is they're just such terrible numbers for a super speedway because we have so much variance. It's the great
But he's
equalizer.
always out front. So someone has to wreck him from the front, I feel like, right?
Right, and that's what I'm about to say is as much as I like to shit on the number, I don't think you can ignore either Hill or Jesse Love because we saw it at Daytona. Daytona, we've seen so much moving and shifting in Xfinity. They've got the new broadcast deal. There's so much excitement. Connor Zilic is going to win 1,000,000 races. JRM is refurbished. Little Gator finally won a title. All that excitement, everything at Daytona. What happens? Austin Hill dominates the race, loses the rear gear or something. Jesse Love wins the race. Just takes right over, dominates right there. You could tell me Dale Earnhardt was in this 21 car, and I believe you with how well he runs at these super speedways. The numbers are absolutely disgusting.
I know,
but if you win, you get it. So you just get a little less than you would for most of these guys. It does create value down the book, though, for some guys, which is nice, even though in terms of the outrights, I'm not looking anywhere else, probably because I realize that it's either the 21 or the 2 that ends up in victory lane at the end of this thing.
Yeah, man. I mean, sometimes don't fight it, bet it, baby. That's kind of what I say here. So, and like the thing about this is if Austin Hill just gets me a top 3, which he's done in 5 of 6 starts here in Atlanta, I'm still walking away with money.
There's your hedge in case it's he and Love coming to the line and it's Love by that much. You still win, even though you're drinking some juice. If they're the top 2 or regardless, let's TK here. You're right. Hill on super speedway like SVG on a road course in Xfinity. SVG didn't win all the road courses last year. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And low bet odds for typically great results in race.
Yeah.
That's what I'm playing here. That's what I'm playing. I'm hoping he doesn't you can't get fucked you can't get fucked 2 weeks in a row with technical issues. I feel like they cleaned him up. He's ready to go. I'm ready to go big country, baby. I'm going to wear my camouflage on Saturday. I'm going to be giddying up there. Let's go.
Yeah, and Pop is not going to accept any more mechanical failures with those RCR cars for sure. But like I said, if it's going to be the RCR cars in the top 2, I like Sheldon Creed right behind him. Sheldon Creed top 3 at plus 350 over on Bet365. This would have hit if I'd placed it at Daytona. He was 3rd last spring. He was P4 in the JGR car. He's got some momentum behind him. He's feeling good. He had a good run at Daytona, led and controlled that race a little bit. Sam Mayer drafted pretty well with him. We've had some worries about the Haas cars, and I know the equipment in the tracks are the great equalizer on super speedways. But he showed the Haas cars can compete on super speedways. He showed that he's still a super talented driver. I believe he does get over that hump and finally win a race this year. He doesn't win 2, remember, under 1.5, but I think he does win 1. Definitely could come with the super speedway. But you're right. I feel like Hill and Love are probably too much to really feel good about an outright for anybody else. But I love a good top 3 on that 0-0.
I'd feel better with the top 5. I'd feel better with the top 5 just because I feel like
I would too, but it doesn't make you as much money, Jim.
Hey, that's true. That's true. Hey, beggars can't be choosers out here. So I respect it, and I like the new look for Sheldon Creed. Same old Sheldon Creed, but in some new stripes, which I digged.
Yeah, friends at Jacqueline Foundation. They did run a lot on his car last year too. But 0-0 is one of my favorite numbers to see out on the racetrack.
Oh yeah.
Shout out David Ruderman, the old Aaron's Dream Machine coming back on the front row cars too. Gilliland and Zane Smith. We just need the lucky dog on there and we'll get it. I've got one more Xfinity bet here. Dean Thompson is the top Toyota. That's at 5-1 over on Caesars. For me, it's a simple numbers game. There's only 5 Toyotas in the race. So, I mean, you can think that Almirola and all the other JGR cars, you can think Almirola and Taylor Gray are going to control this race right up there with Hill. Say that Hill does something stupid, takes them all out. Dean Thompson's running 15th, makes it through. Boom, you hit it. Ran pretty well last week at Daytona, ended up P8. And he's got a couple of super speedway top 10s in the truck series, and I think one of them was even in Atlanta. Sam Hunt Racing going with Thompson this year, going with that cash to check instead of maybe some other talent. But Dean Thompson, not a complete scrub, ran all right at the super speedways with the Tricon truck. Like I said, ran all right last week. And with the numbers game, only 5 Toyotas entered, 1 in 5 chance with the 5-1. I like the synchronicity of that there. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, when you factor in one of those cars as Brandon Jones, it's really a 1 in 4 shot in my opinion. But that's last week. My biggest regret in a bet I didn't place, Elliot, was the Sammy Smith over Brandon Jones because first wreck. Oh, there goes Brandon Jones. Should have faded him.
I
was thinking of.
That was like in the first 10 laps, wasn't it? He was out immediately.
Yeah. So yeah, I honestly don't hate this one. I think I don't know what the number would be on Geo either, but I don't mind taking some shots in the Toyota market. It's really just betting a good group and getting a 5-1 in any group. It's not a bad play, honestly. Here, I think it's a good little sharp number for you, man. Good work on that.
Hey, thanks. Hey, you mentioned Gio Ruggiero. I thought about a bet on him in the Truck Series. I ended up not going with it, but I do like some of the Truck Series bets this week. You've got a boatload. I've only got one, so I'll let you take it off first.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Well, we're going with Ty Majeski outright and the top 5 plus 160 here. As we noted, I think there's value down the board. Finished 4th last week, started on the front row. He's 9-1 other places, 8-1 I've seen for the outright. So 10-1 at FanDuel feels pretty good. I also love that top 5 plus 160. I believe that that is at Bet365 is where I got that. He's like plus 125 other books. So feeling good there. Going to like 1.1 unit on the top 5, 0.4 on the outright. And what I like about Majeski, in addition to finishing 4th last week, starting on that front row, is he started top 3 in all super speedway races in the Truck Series last year. So you could be looking at a cash out from FanDuel before the race even starts if he can do that again. And at the Atlanta reconfiguration, he started top 4 every single time, finished top 7 in 5 of 6 stages, and also finished top 3 twice, including a runner-up finish last year. And he was cooking down Kyle Busch at the end of that race. So give me a little Ty Majeski outright. He's not a guy I usually bet, but yeah, give me the guy who hey, he thought it was important to go home and vote last year, and give me a man who respects his country and is going to go home and make sure his voice is heard. Love you, Ty. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, hey, hopefully the USA is doing well in that Four Nations hockey game tonight. But
Yeah.
thanks for watching the Backroad. Instead of that, we'll catch up on that later. And this is one of those situations where you mentioned you don't normally bet Majeski. We got Kyle Busch in the trucks this week, and that improves the value on everybody, including the champion last year, who's got the stats to back it up. But I like the truck bets. You got another truck regular that you got. But, Nick, I'm right on board with you here. Michael McDowell will win Atlanta on the truck. Man, I could not agree more. Give me McNasty again. Last week, give me a mulligan for it. I made a generational call. I said this may be one of the more obvious.
You made me get down on it, and I got fucked. Yeah.
And it was so their plan clearly was not to run up front and control the race, which I thought it would have been. The Spire trucks are good.
Yeah.
They're going to run up front. They're going to do everything. They hung back. I don't know if it was what their strategy was or whatever. They hung back most of the race. Last 20 laps, they're coming toward the front. The 07 of McDowell, the 7 of Haley, they're hard charging. Wreck happens. 07 nearly passed it, gets turned, crashed in his days down there. They were heading for it. We know McDowell and Justin Haley have the super speedway prowess. Haley ended up in the top 5 still. He had to bail on his buddy McNasty after the 07 gets turned around. In that Delaware Life truck this week back in the 07, I think this week goes better for him. Atlanta, maybe even a better track than Daytona. There's almost less. You have the super speedway racing with less super speedway chaos, which is the only reason I can really kind of agree with you on this hill bet. I feel like if we were heading to Talladega and you give me these hill bets or even this Kyle Busch bet, I think Rowdy's somewhere 5-6-1, if not lower in most of the books for this. That gives McDowell more value too, 15-1. I loved it at 10-1, 11-1 last week at Daytona. I love it more at 15-1, and he's got KFB on his side. Give me the Spire trucks to work together, and give me McNasty for the trucks win.
McNasty, baby. Yeah, we got a giveaway coming for him later in the season, so make sure you guys are subscribed, tuned in for that. Yeah, hey, shout out McNasty. I won't get invested because you persuaded me. I had a small truck series card, and then I was like, hey, I'm going to go lay the hammer on a top 5 McNasty bet, and just wasn't his day, but felt a lot like kind of what happened to Cody Ware at the end of the race. He almost got past it and then just got clipped at the end, so do not blame.
That's all right. I'll take the spoils when it happens this week, right?
Okay. Yeah. Hey, fair enough. Last bet of the night for me. I'm going Daniel Hemrick outright, 12-1 at FanDuel. He's like 10-1. A lot of places I thought 12-1 was a great number. Also going on the 2-1 top 5 bet, half a unit on that. And then I'm just going 0.2 of a unit on that 12-1 outright. Number 2 last week in the average running position, Ellie. That means a lot to me, man. 9.0 behind only Chandler Smith. Number 4 in driver rating as well. And he was also top 20 in 5 of 6 Cup Series races last year, including 2 top 10s. And at Atlanta in the Cup Series last year, P18 in the spring, P11 when we went back in the fall as well. Xfinity Atlanta results for our guy, Daniel Hemrick, running in colleague equipment, 3 top 5s, 2 runner-up. So I like that quite a bit as well. That's only 4 races. So he's done good. Hasn't raced the recent configuration in the truck, but I think Daniel Hendrick, he's a guy I'm invested with for the long haul on the season. And I'm going to get down here 12-1 on the outright and a little 2-1 top 5, baby. Let's go, Hemi.
Yeah, I can't blame you. It's almost the same sort of argument that I made with Cindric and his improvement on super speedways. Hemrick being in the building over at Colleague, clearly, I mean, there were a few years there in Xfinity where they had it down pat. Every super speedway race, you were going to see that green number 10 and that green and white number 11 and whatever other third fucking car they ran for whoever. They were always going to be at the front. You know, the days of your Chastain and Haley and the Allmendinger and those boys running up front. Hemrick being in that building's definitely learned a lot. Clearly with the running position too. I wasn't really expecting him to do a lot at Daytona. I didn't know if I'd expect him to do a lot at Atlanta. I think it's going to be on the more bread and butter tracks where you'll see this number 19 really start to show out. And it's almost not that it's a curse or anything, but the only race last year where this 19 truck was not in the top 10 with Christian Eckes was Spring Atlanta.
Oh no.
Knocked out. But it's not Eckes in here. It's Daniel Hemrick. And I do like those Hemrick stats. And this number 19 will continue to be a threat. I don't know if I like the outright. I think the top 5 number is really good here, though.
Yeah, little diesel, babe. Little diesel Hemi. We appreciate you, brother. Elliot, what an absolute pleasure tonight hanging out on the back road, man. Appreciate everyone who's been tuning in with us all night long. If you guys could do us one more favor, if you haven't already, like this video. If you enjoy NASCAR betting content, we're here live Thursdays every single week, 8:30 Eastern time. We also release weekly episodes during the off season as well to be touching on those future markets, recap the season that was, all that good stuff. And also, Elliot, people want to get a little more invested with the IBT family. They can join our IBT Racing family. We just did a giveaway earlier in the show. We gave away a Ross Chastain autograph mini helmet. That was super sick. Our guy Trav won that. Again, Trav, reach out to us on the Discord. We'll make sure that we get this to you here very soon. You can also get access to our exclusive weekly betting model. We're hitting gainers every single week. That model is going to be your lifeline and help you continue to win. And then also you can join the conversation with our viewers and analysts over in the Discord. The link to the IBT Racing family, it's in this episode. Only $3.99 a month, $36 for the year. And Elliot, I mean, what a great way to kick off the season here, man, by having a lot of fun over there in the Discord so far.
Yeah, man, no doubt about it. It's a lot of fun over there. And if this model we put together was garbage, you know, we wouldn't plug it as much as we will. We'd figure it out. But like you said, the model has hit pretty well with one of its top drivers winning the Clash. One of its top drivers won the Daytona 500. And even the guys who wrecked out at front were still fairly high on our model. Yeah. And we're definitely high on it for Atlanta. If you're skeptical, I totally get it. It's a whole different ball game giving someone a like on YouTube and giving them money every month or giving them a little bit every year, even if it's only, a couple of coffees you can skip, if you like one of our bets, go ahead and throw some coin down on it. And when you win, then just give a little bit back to us so we can keep putting in the work to continue improving the back road, to continue improving everything we do at IBT with every bit of thanks to you as well for that, Seth.
Hey, man, this is what it's about. It's about community, dude. And like, what we're building here is special every single week, having so many awesome faces show up and give us their opinion, share their insights with us. And like, this is where some of the best bets come from, right? I mean, I can remember some absolute gainers that have got dropped in the chat over the last couple of years. So it's great to be back rocking with everyone, man. It's been such a blessed time for us here at IBT as we continue to get into the racing season. So we got some fun stuff planned for you. We're working on some special stuff for our weekend up in Pocono later this year, hoping to potentially do some more interactive stuff with the IBT family. But I'm ready to go, man. It's going to be a great rest of the season. It starts here in Atlanta this weekend, baby.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Going to be a good time. We're getting into the swing of things in the season. After Atlanta, Seth and Rod are going to take you through the first lefts and rights of the year at the Circuit of the Americas. Same time, same place next week. Take a ride down the back road with us, won't you? Again next time. We'll see you again then.